guys, what's up? It's Earth. Today is a right answer prayer that God supplies all of your needs, puts food on your table, and blesses you very richly. And today's verse is found in Isaiah, so let's get right into it. It says, "When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned." Isaiah 43:2c. And my Bible says, "When you go through fire, you shall not be scorched, or through flames, you shall not be burned." So, I'm pretty sure we have all heard of the story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? They were the three men that were thrown in the furnace, and they were in the flames, and guess what? They weren't burning, and then a fourth man appeared in the furnace with them, and that man was Jesus. And if we choose to believe and have faith in God, and we choose to stand for what's ours, and we choose to stand for God and live for God, then we won't be scorched. Whenever we walk through hell, we won't be touched. We cannot be shaken because we believe on God and we stand for Him. And they were faithful, and they chose to stand for God. They didn't care. They weren't going to obey that guy because they had their own God, and they had God. And so whenever they were in that furnace, they didn't burn at all. And God stood there with him. Not him, but them. And that's because God is our Father. He's our friend. He loves at all times, and He never abandons us, right? So yeah, whenever we're in that fire, He's standing there right with us. We're not alone. And He's our friend, and He's our Father. He's our shepherd, and He's there. And He won't leave you. Whenever you're in that rough times, whenever you're burning up, He will be there. And He will say, you will not be shaken. You will not be scorched. You will not be burned. You will stand for me. You did the right thing, and I will reward you. You are my child, and I'm not going to let you get hurt. And that's what God does. You stand in the midst of trouble, and that trouble doesn't get to you. Your brain isn't chaotic, and you are peaceful, and you are at peace, and you're joyful, and you're happy, because God's standing there with you in that furnace, and you chose to believe in Him. You chose to stand for Him, so you don't get burned, you don't get scorched. It says, when you go through the fire, you shall not be scorched. And that's because God's with you. And whenever you go through hard times in life, whenever you have to walk that plank, whenever you have to walk that bridge that's hanging above 5 or definitely more than 5 feet, that it's a death wish, right? But no, because God's with you. He's walking on that bridge with you. And that means you won't get harmed. You won't get hurt. And the plans that He has for you are not to harm you. Never ever to harm you. And whenever you walk through that hard time in life, whenever you take a road that leads you to bad stuff, you won't get hurt because you have God. You chose to stand for Him. You chose to be with Him, so you have faith. You chose the right people to be with. You chose the right path. So you're not going to get scorched. You're not going to get burned. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they stood in that fire, and they did not get scorched. And they stood there in awe. The Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and the men, the knights, they were standing there in awe. Like, how the world are they not getting burned? Like, come on. Fire is fire. It burns people. How are they not dying? But then they saw another man appeared, and that man was Jesus. And He stood there. He stood there with His children. He wasn't let His children gonna be alone in a furnace overheating. And they didn't get scorched because this verse lives, and they believed in God. They had faith. They stood for God, and they never gave up. And this is what can happen to you. You can stand in a furnace, and God will be right next to you, and He will be with you because you chose to stand with God and believe in Him. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today, and I hope that you guys like this verse. And I know I have actually never seen this verse before or read it or anything like that, so I think this verse is really cool, and it definitely relates to the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I actually really like that story, and I wrote a song about it, and I think it's a really cool song, or not song, but a really cool story, and definitely a really cool verse. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!